A fellow like that who probably could play professionally in Australia after all his college experience he's had, is the financial aspect of playing at a place like Richmond now equivalent or better than going into that Australian league?
Yeah, it's better than going into the Australian League. Depending on who the player is, certainly. But yes, it'd be better than going in the Australian League, which is a great league, a very attractive league for guys because the language, the country, they don't play quite as many games. So guys, it's very, very attractive league.
When you recruit high school prospects and or transfers, what percent intend to play professionally?
100.
No question.
Yes, no doubt.
And this, I presume, is now become a nice alternative for people in that you have a good track record of regularly producing pros. Is that part of it?
I think so. I mean, I think that I think we have upwards of 30 or so guys who have played professionally. Some guys have had very good, long, prosperous careers. That probably comes down. That depends more on the individual. Playing professional basketball is great and a lifelong goal of most of the prospects, but it's not easy. There's a lot of pressure on the players. Sometimes you're in a country that doesn't speak English. There are a lot of demands. You're expected to do certain things. So it's impressive to be able to put together a long career like some of our guys have done. And I do think that makes it attractive. It's something we certainly promote and try to make sure they understand that, aside from Jacob Gilyard and Justin Harper, that we've placed a lot of guys professionally overseas.
Coach, when you have William and Mary coming in tomorrow night and BMI is their subsequent opponent, how do you find the proper mix between state opposition and non-state opposition through this time of year?
Yeah, that's something that I've always loved about being in Virginia, is that there are so many opportunities to play in-state competition, and I wish there was a little bit more formalized structure to it, that we could play, the two ACC teams, Virginia and Virginia Tech. But we've had, I think we've played, while I've been here, we played William and Mary quite often, VMI quite often, Old Dominion very often. I'd like us to continue to do that. I think it's obviously good for travel. It's also good for, there's a little bit more, being in the state capital, we can attract good crowds when we play in-state opponents. But I'd really love the opportunity. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'd love the opportunity to be that a little bit more formalized, like the Big Five in Philadelphia, where you got to play teams throughout the state on an annual basis. Because it is such a natural and such a hoops-rich state.
I'm not so sure, and I know it's only been 2 games, but the depth that you do have and have built, how much of an adjustment is it for you in rotations, because you haven't always been used to being able to count on that?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's kind of good because it gets my mind off of what's going on the court and thinking about the substitutions. So that's probably a positive. But yeah, it's different. I talked to Mike Rhodes about it, Jamal Brunt. William and Mary subs an awful lot, and Brian Earl's the coach there. So just watching, trying to figure out how to maintain the balance of, a drawback might be that a guy doesn't get in quite a rhythm. Some of our, great players that we've had, Kevin Anderson, Jordan King, they were, very rhythm players, and because they scored at such a high level, that rhythm was determined there. That may be a little bit of a trade-off, but the positives of guys being so fresh and intense and committed to playing defense at a really high level of effort, we think outweigh that. But it is something that we've worked on and we talked about, we're trying to prepare for and do the best we can.
Outside of injuries, can you see anything that would shrink that bench for you once you get into A10 play?
I don't think so. I mean, we really like it so far, what it's been able to do for us. We feel like that we have a chance to really be a very good defensive team and also a good offensive team. I mean, the ball moves very well so far. Positionally, we've been good defensively. Effort-wise, we've been very good. So hopefully we can maintain it. And to be honest with you, Will Harper, Bryson McLaughlin are really knocking on the door to try to get into the rotation. So I hope we can keep it up, and I like the style. I think it's been fun. I think it's been good for the guys, and I think it can pay dividends for us in the long term.
Is this your first or second season playing?
Second.
Is there anything unique, different about the way his teams play as opposed to the way you guys have had to play for the last 21 seasons?
Yes, I mean, they play at an extremely high tempo. They shoot an extremely high number of threes. They substitute and play, typically 11, 12 guys. And so there's a randomness to how they play along with the tempo that can be, fairly chaotic. And I think that, you're not only preparing for the individual players, always most important, but you're preparing for that style that they're very confident and they play a certain way that guys are going to be coming in. They're flooding, flooding down the court in a very fast way. They're shooting the first available three, and they're doing that for 40 minutes. So, you do have to make the adjustment, and it presents quite a problem.
Given your friendship with him, last year's game was contrasting styles.
Yes.
Fair to say.
Yeah.
How much more are they similar styles because of the way you guys are?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit more similar. Certainly on how many guys will play in the game, this is more similar. I think they're probably a little bit more committed to three-point shots, early and often. Well, not that we're shying away from three-point shots, but I don't know that that's something that we talk about that we need to get too early. But yeah, I think there will be a lot more similarities this year than there were a year ago.
How hard is it to find a player like Widow? Different continent, different coast, different colleges. I mean, just talk about the search to arrive at Widow. How hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's, in some ways it's difficult and a little far-fetched, but in other ways this has become so sophisticated. There are services that, there have always been recruiting services, now there are transfer services that, you type in a name and you have 7 minutes worth of highlights, you have stats, advanced stats, metrics, everything you need to know. There are agents. So it's not quite as far-fetched now. Everything's become a little bit more uniform, and whether the player's from the U.S. or abroad, you can find that player fairly quickly.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, how many guards do you look at?
Yeah.
Private
Yeah, that's a great question. We try to look at a lot of guards. Guard play is extremely important. We've been spoiled over the years to have some really exceptional guard play, which puts pressure on the guards who come in here. But yeah, that's probably the first thing we look at. They handle the ball so much, they have to do so many things. Even with us, where the ball is spread around very much, the guards are still so extremely important.
Did you or anyone on your staff have anyone reach out to that either coached him or coached against him? Or
Yeah.
is there any common denominator at all?
Yes, Will's played high school here at the Perkiomen School, and his high school coach, who's no longer there, someone that we've talked to over the years and recruited his guys, that was a huge help because that gave us, someone to vouch for us. A transfer is going to take 100 calls, literally over 100 calls in the first week. So it's important that, they couldn't possibly separate that, certainly level and maybe area of the country. But for someone on his inside to say, hey, this is what this program's about, this is that they can be trusted or whatnot, is really critical.
Other schools in the state are doing quite well with international players.
Yeah.
Do you see that as an avenue for Richmond as time goes on?
For sure. International players used to be unique, where there were more rules in general, and there were more rules against their ability to be eligible. But now, yes, guys are coming over, having played in their pro club for years, and now come to the U.S. because it's a better option for them. So, yeah, I think that's going to become very much a part of it, and fairly mundane because it's so common.
General observation, 2 games in and an exhibition. What you guys got?
What we got? I think we got a pretty good team, so I'm really enjoying playing with the guys, and we're winning some games. Hopefully we can keep it rolling.
And what is that optimism rooted? What do you see with Thursday?
I mean, we've spoken about it before. I think our depth is something, I've played a lot of college basketball. I've been in it for a while, but I've never played on a team that's had this much depth, top to bottom, We play a lot of guys, and I think that can be our real strength, a real unique point that a lot of teams don't have. So I think that optimism comes from there,
You mentioned your experience. When you were first of all, do you plan on playing professionally?
Yeah.
And when you made your choice of Richmond, was it related in any way to the fact that Richmond's been pretty good and pretty regular in producing professional players?
Yeah. I more made the decision just based on, I thought this was the best school for me, with Coach Mooney and stuff, but that definitely is a factor.
And in this revenue sharing era, is it more beneficial for you to play at a relatively high level of college or play professionally where you could have played last year?
Yeah, it's something that I definitely weighed up, and the thing is we never know what would have happened if I went professional, but I did think staying in college was the best decision for me. Playing in college, there's more likely to be a main role compared to playing professional. You're going to have to start at the bottom and kind of work your way up. So I think that was probably the biggest reason why I chose to stay in college.
Talking about depth.
Yeah.
How have you guys y'all want to play, everybody wants to play as many minutes as you can, so how have you guys and you personally handled the rotation of the minutes?
Yeah, I mean, just putting winning above everything else, if you're worrying about other things like stats, this and that, that's where that selfishness creeps in. But if winning's the top priority, you don't worry about none of that stuff. And I think we've done a pretty good job at doing that so far.
You also seem to be very comfortable in the offense. You don't seem to be hunting your shot or anything like that. How have you kind of grasped that?
Yeah, just trying to learn every day. It's definitely a process for me. I'm trying to fit in with these new guys because, we do have a lot of new players, but just trying to fit in and see where I'm good, my role is with the team and all that. But, I'm excited.
Based on preseason and practice from back in the spring and the summer, is there anything that, what has gone the way you were hoping it might, and what hasn't quite worked out yet that you thought, well, I thought it would be better about this, and it hasn't quite gotten there yet? I know it's only been 2 years, but what are some of the things that you were expecting and some of the things that haven't quite lived up to what you're saying?
I expected to win, and I was winning some games, so that's always been good. Defensively, I think we're a lot we're performing really well on that end of the floor, and something that I think is going to come along is just the shooting. I think start of the season, maybe a bit of nerves coming in, new team, new faces, all that kind of stuff. It maybe can be a reason for that, but hopefully along this next couple of games we start shooting the ball a bit better.
And you said that staying in college was the right decision for you. What was it about this program and this university that made this the right decision when you decided to stay in school? Yeah,
I watched a lot of film, and my relationship with Coach Guy, Coach Mooney, all the staff really, I felt like this was a great fit for me, especially the play style and this offense. It's very similar to the professional teams that I would decide to play with if I was to go that route. So I thought this would be a good fit for me if I got blessed with that extra year for junior college to play in this system so that I'll be ready for the pros after that.
When you speak of the pros, are you talking about Australia or wherever?
Yeah, wherever, but NBL is what, I'm from Australia, so that's
Can you remind us of your age?
23. Yeah, I got some age to me.
Join the club.
24 soon.
Had Richmond recruited you prior to any of the stops?
Nah. I probably sent them a few emails when I was in junior college asking to come, but they didn't want me yet, They'll wait for the opportune moment.
Do they have this, and I think I know the answer to this, but does television in Australia ever show reruns of a TV program from America called The White Shadow?
I'm not sure. I'm not a big that might be
Okay, if you've never heard of it, then don't worry about it.
Yeah, bet.
Speaking of that, are family and friends able to keep up with you in a video way from these games?
I think so. I think there's a little bit of, they might have to find a way to watch it, but I'm not sure how they do it. But.
You haven't heard that they're watching regularly yet?
Yeah, nah.
Well, a 7 o'clock game here on a Tuesday night is what time in Australia? in where your family is?
You might have to ask AP. I'm not a math major, but I think it's 14, 15 hours ahead. So 7 o'clock might be that'd be up, but it'd be like morning sometime.
Like 10 o'clock?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good time.
No excuse.
Yeah. I hope that's right. You know, something like that. Yeah.